All right, welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Fanon, and in this video, we're going to talk about Devin Haney responding to the WBC after they have named him a junior title and telling them exactly what they need to do. And in this instant, Devin Haney ain't doing anything but talking about what is right. Let's talk about that in this video. Welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Fanon. Before we get into the video though, make sure to listen to the video all the way to the end so that you can understand exactly what my opinion is, and also hit that like button, share button, subscribe button. It really does help the channel grow. All right, man, there's a great I never say this word right. There is a great travesty going on in boxing in the lightweight division for the WBC title. Devin Haney, who has been, in the eyes of many people, and rightfully should be, in my opinion, considered the WBC champion, is not being considered that by the WBC. Mauricio Suliamon came out yesterday. You can go see the interview that he did out on Fight Hype, where he says that George Kambosos is their WBC champion. He calls Devin Haney something called he's our pride champion, and says that George Kambosos, because of the lineage from him beating Teofimo Lopez beating Vasily Lomachenko, who won the vacant belt, that was vacated by Mikey Garcia, so forth and so on, is the real champion. Well, Devin Haney let out a tweet not too long ago and said, "Hey man, if I am the junior champion, why don't you mandate me to fight George Kambosos?" And I'm going to tell you right now, that is probably the best thing that Devin Haney could have asked for out of the WBC. And in my opinion, it's something that the WBC has set themselves up for, because they have, without a doubt, changed the rules for the franchise belt several times. So they might as well just keep on continuing changing the rule. So, and let me tell you what I mean by that. When there was the original franchise belt, that was Canelo Alvarez at 160 pounds. They originally said that the franchise belt was for fighters that are basically so big in boxing and are going to move around multiple weight classes and are really, I guess, financially, important to the sport of boxing, that they were going to alleviate the necessity of mandatories for them. And so they could move up in weight class, be the franchise champion, move up in weight class, continue to be the franchise champion, and not have to fight a mandatory, right? That was the original rule of the WBC for the franchise belt. But they have changed the rules for the WBC, and this is something that was said by Mauricio Suliamon when he was explaining the rule. He said that they changed the rule and said that they were because originally, one more thing. Originally, you're not supposed to be able to win the franchise belt. So if somebody was to beat Canelo Alvarez for the WBC belt, they would become the WBC champion, but they would not become the WBC franchise champion. The only thing that would happen is that Canelo Alvarez would lose. Presumably what would happen is that Canelo Alvarez would lose his lose his franchise status, but it could not be transferred from one person to another. Well, with Teofimo Lopez and Vasily Lomachenko, or specifically Teofimo Lopez and George Kambosos, they changed the rule and said that now you can win that franchise title from somebody when you beat them in a ring, because I do not believe George Kambosos asked to be the franchise champion, but even if he did, he had to win it in the ring, and they said, they being the WBC and Mauricio Suliamon, said that they changed that rule. Great, because that is just making it look like you're doing what a lot of people said. And again, I'm going to give the person that I heard it from was D-Style Boxing, who said that, look, man, what the WBC is trying to do with this franchise stuff is that they're just trying to do the super champion. Just like the WBA has a WBA super champion, a WBA regular champion, the WBC is mimicking that and making a WBC franchise champion and a WBC, what is now, I guess, called the pride champion or junior champion or whatever it is, right? So sounds good. The WBA changed their rules because originally there was not going to be a mandatory for the WBA super champion, but now there are mandatory challengers to the WBA super title. And people will continually come by the channel and say, oh, Fanon, there is no mandatory for the WBA super champion. And that's just not true, because Anthony Joshua had to defend his heavyweight title, and he was the WBA super champion, and he had to fight Alexander Povetkin for that. Yordanis Ugas just recently is the WBA super champion. He was ordered to fight Staniosis until Staniosis took step-aside money so that he could get the Errol Spence Jr. fight. So there is most definitely mandatory challengers to the WBA super belt. And if you're going to go ahead and change and follow that pattern, do what's fair and make a mandatory for your franchise champion, especially since you know that it's no longer about having somebody that's so financially important, or and going through multiple weight classes where that was the purpose of the original rule. I agree 100% with Devin Haney, and the WBC should eliminate that part of the rule too, where they don't have mandatory, so that you can make it a regular championship, or you can make it a championship where people coming up the ranks can feel like they have an opportunity to win that belt, and they don't have to be, they don't have to leave that sanctioning body to go to another sanctioning body so that they can get a chance to come back over and fight for the WBC championship belt because they're the mandatory from another sanctioning body. And honestly, that's only fair, because the only reason that George Kambosos got a shot to be the franchise champion was because he was the IBF mandatory. And if Vasily Lomachenko, who's the WBO mandatory guy, the only reason that he would get an opportunity to fight for the WBC franchise belt is because he is the WBO mandatory. It seems to me to be very, very unfair for you to have mandatories for other sanctioning bodies be able to win the WBC franchise belt, but nobody that is actually ranked in the WBC has the opportunity to win that belt. Devin Haney has a very, very good point, man, and that is fundamentally unfair to people in the rankings of the WBC, where they have no route to become the champion, the actual #1 WBC champion, but guys that are become mandatory in other sanctioning bodies have the ability to do that. I think this is a great point from Devin Haney. And since they've already changed the rule one time, hey man, adjust the rule again and make it fair. If there's going to be a franchise champion, let the franchise champion be the guy. And I'm sure there can be other privileges with the franchise champion, like you can immediately move up and fight the guy for the belt at the weight class above. But the way that they're administering that rule with George Kambosos makes it unfair to everybody in the WBC ranking, because it's like, I want to be the WBC champion. I have to leave the sanctioning body in order to do that. I've got to go the best route and that is an actual fact right now. The best route to become the WBC franchise champion at lightweight is to leave the WBC, go up climb the rankings of another sanctioning body, and then have them mandate a fight with the unified champion so that you can get that fight. Now, and what happens if they start stripping them? There will be no route to that. If they start not have unification fights, say those belts get broken up, then there's not going to be any route to the franchise champion. It just seems to me, man, that Devin Haney's right about it. Mauricio Suliamon, I'm sure the apology for the confusion is all fine and good, but fixing the problem and being fair to Devin Haney, in my opinion, would be the better solution. But anyway, that's my take on the matter. You let me know what you think in the comment section. And with that, I'm out. Peace.